Morning, everybody. Let's start cutting some news here. Hope you guys enjoyed porch setting this week. Comments below. Let me know if you did. If you didn't, I enjoy doing it. It seems like more people like it when I bring Sue out there with me because she can answer questions really that I can't answer and give a woman's point of view about a lot of things around here. Let me tell you what I do know. This is kind of a comical comment, but it's true. When I first moved in here, I met a neighbor here that was actually a neighbor of where our old house was at. He was a neighbor there also. We were drinking beer one day on his lanai, and we were talking about things that we were doing, moving in, the same things that everybody does, buying furniture, looking around, seeing about getting landscape, blah, 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 I just want to get back into golf because I've been out of it for so many years. I just wanted to get back into the camaraderie of a bunch of guys, buddies, to play golf and drink some beer and have some fun at least one day a week. That's what I wanted to do. Well, he made a statement when we were talking about wives and what they do and what men do and things like that. He said, well, the Villages is actually run by all these women. Ha 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 ha, I said. Let me just say 8 years later, I find that to be more and more true to everybody that I talk to that live here. And I'm just in the pack with the rest of them. The women do run this place. They're the ones that pay the bills. They're the ones that know what the property taxes are. They're the ones that know phone numbers to talk to different people and things like that. And I'm not saying all men don't know these things, but the women definitely know these things. Do your thing, have your fun, do your golf thing, have your buddies, go drink a beer, tell some dirty jokes when women ain't around. You know what I'm saying? But women really run this place. All right. I'm going to do a little thing here and then have a little explanation. That's all I'm going to do here. I'm going to talk about a couple of things. So sit back. The DeLuna Recreation Center pickleball and tennis courts will be closed for maintenance Tuesday, October 11th through Thursday, October 13th. DeLuna, brand new neighborhood. People are still moving in. As far as I know, they're still building a couple of houses in there. They're not even done yet. DeLuna. Keep that in mind. Truman Recreation Center will be closed, and the pool will be closed for maintenance. Truman is an older area. It's over there pretty close to where my first house used to be, is over in that area. Truman is a nice area. 2 executive golf courses there, Roosevelt and Truman, are some of the most popular executive golf courses around because of the rolling hills that are there. People love to play those golf courses. I did too, but it's an older area. It's pretty close to Lake Sumter Landing. So you get a time frame there. The First Responders Recreation Center in Family Pool will be closed for maintenance on Thursday, October 13th. The schedule may be adjusted due to unforeseen circumstances, including weather. The First Responders Recreation Center. I did reports on it. That's a new one. Hasn't been open that long. I'm going to take a stab in the dark. How long has it been open to residents now up there? Residents everywhere, but it's way north up there. It's pretty close to where the 5-acre lots that they had at one time for sale. 3 months ago, they opened it up full time. 4 months ago, it hasn't been that long, and already it's being closed for maintenance. Now, my explanation about all this. This is the statement that I made when we were doing porch setting. I said the difference between some 55-plus communities and our 55-plus communities, not only ours, but ours, comparing it to everybody else, is we're a premier 55-plus community. And this is what makes our amenity fees and things a little more expensive probably than a lot of the other ones. This is what makes us a premier community, is because of these maintenance that they do. They keep everything in pristine condition. You can go to any swimming pool, old side, Truman, new side, DeLuna. Makes no difference. After so many hours, so many days, so many months, whatever the time frame is for all that there to be done, schedule on maintenance, it's done. We just recently opened our pool again. They went in and did a complete service in there. The pool was redone, tile was replaced, the floor was steam cleaned, the bathrooms were all redone, everything, the pool filters and all this kind of stuff is done. So it was shut down. Ours was shut down for about a week because they did some extensive remodeling in our pool. It's 8 years old. The Florida Highway Patrol is investigating a motorcycle crash which occurred Sunday morning near a busy intersection in the Villages. The crash occurred at about 11 a.m. on Buena Vista Boulevard, about 100 yards north of County Road 466. The injured motorcyclist was transported by ambulance to Ocala Regional Medical Center. That's because that's the only trauma center we have in this area. In the villages, we do not have a trauma center. The Florida Highway Patrol is investigating a motorcycle crash which occurred Sunday morning near a busy intersection in the villages. The intersection at County Road 466 and Buena Vista Boulevard is notoriously busy and will get busier with the addition of new Sprouts Farmers Market and the apartment buildings being built around us. And I reported them. You've seen the numbers. The one company is even willing to come in and front the money to get Rolling Acres Road widened and redone so he can get started building his little deal up there. I don't forget. I think it was apartment buildings. I could be wrong about that. But whatever he's building up there, they're saying within the next few years, there's going to be 4,000 more people just in that area running up and down Rolling Acres Road, coming down to the villages, coming down to our squares. Now, for businesses, that's great. They're going to make a lot of money. But as a village resident, it gets to the point where we just simply can't do anything that we're actually wanting to do. Now, when it comes to the square, village residents do not pay for any of that, beyond popular belief. Our amenity fees has nothing to do with the squares, the music on the squares. We don't pay for any of that. The businesses pay for that. They pay a fee to rent a building down there, and they are paying for that entertainment. And plus, the villages used to get some money from tourism, Florida or Sumter County or something. And I don't know if we get that anymore. It seems to me I read a report here a year or so ago where they were going to cut that. So I don't know if they still get that or not. Rest assured, the village residents do not pay for any of that. So we actually get really right down to it. We don't have a say-so about the square. We can bitch, gripe, and complain about how it's getting too crowded and this and that and blah, blah, blah. Has nothing to do with you because you're not paying for it either. It's just it's something for, it attracts business to come to town and spend money at restaurants and stores downtown. That's what it's there for. Last month, the CDD-12 board, on a vote of 4-1, rejected Martino's claim that the stoplight located in his driveway at the entrance of his garage was a device aimed at assisting him with his mobility disability. And he said the stoplight cost him $1,800 and assisted him when he was parking. He said the stoplight had been in place for 5 years. However, Martino failed in his attempt to keep the device despite claiming a disability under the Fair Housing Act. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Villagers who have purchased new homes remain disappointed in the lack of luster in landscaping south of State Road 44. Community Development District 13 residents are stunned by a recent 6% maintenance assessment hike. We'll get used to that. Residents of Chitty Chatty, Bradford, Citrus Springs, St. Catherine, Hawkins, and other villages packed the CDD 13 Board of Supervisors meeting last month at Everglades Recreation Center. At that meeting, many residents of CDD 13 commented of a lack of beauty south of State Road 44 in comparison to their neighbors to the north. About 77% of the homes have been sold in CDD 13. About 85% of the landscaping has been put in, according to the landscape architect. Take a drive south of 44 and you'll notice there are fewer flowers and more Florida-friendly, drought-resistant plants. More rock and stone have been integrated into the landscaping. In the developer's recognition that water is a precious resource and a healthy environment requires fewer non-native flowers and more plants considered Florida-friendly. Florida-friendly landscaping means using low-maintenance plants and environmentally sustained practices, including water conservation, as well as reducing fertilization and pest control needs. Generally, the use of flowering plants increases water usage, fertilization, and pest control needs. And I have noticed that. I love the flowers in our roundabouts and our entrance at the different villages. They always have flowers coming into the gate. I love that. That's one of the things that we liked about when we moved here was the beauty of everything, the neatness, the cleanliness of everything, and how everything is uniformed. I personally like that. And I think I'm not alone. There's 140,000 people living here now and moving up. So, it's just not my opinion. But on the other side of that nickel, you will see them change these flowering plants I think it's 3 times a year, but it might be 4. But I think it's 3 times a year because the heat in the summer, you just can't plant anything out there. It just bakes them. So they have to constantly turn these flowers over because of environmental problems and things of that nature. And then we have a rainy season. So it rains like every day. So you have to have plants that can take that kind of moisture in the ground without drowning them out. So they're constantly turning these flowers over. And I have seen a fertilizer truck at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning when I was a gate guard. You see them out there at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, and they're going around with this big truck and a big tank of water on the back with fertilizer mixed in with it, and they're going around and they're spraying it and everything. So that is true. They do a lot of work to keep these flowers blooming and looking good. Not to mention that the people that take these flowers out and put new flowers in, sometimes I think are taking their life in their own hands by working in a roundabout. Seriously. This is an update on a guy that stole a golf cart from, if I remember right, Outback Steakhouse. This is not his first rodeo. A suspect has been formally charged in the theft of a golf cart from a restaurant in the Villages. Robert Joseph Gibson, 43, of Weirsdale, had been arrested June 13th in connection with the theft of a 2020 Yamaha golf cart valued at $20,000. Which had been parked April the 8th at Outback at Rolling Acres Plaza, according to the affidavit. The owner left the restaurant at about 7:30 p.m. and discovered his golf cart was missing from the parking lot. He was still in possession of the key. A review of video surveillance led the detective to suspect Gibson had stolen the golf cart. The detective was aware that Gibson had been associated with previous golf cart thefts. However, Gibson was released in August from Lady Lake Jail on his own recognizance. He was set free after spending 50 days in jail. The prosecutors at that point had not yet filed formal charges against the Fort Myers native. Judge James Backley signed off on a motion granting Gibson's release. While he was free, Gibson was arrested over the Labor Day holiday. 3 weeks after that arrest, the prosecutors moved forward and filed a formal charge of grand theft in connection with the theft of the golf cart at Outback. He continued to be held at the jail since Labor Day. In 2019, Gibson was arrested after running out of coals in Lady Lake wearing a pair of stolen Nike shoes. You know, we got to start getting tough on these people getting arrested over and over and over and over again with the same thing. They're not scared of jail anymore. Hey, look over here. I forgot to put them up. I'm sorry. Letters to the editor. To the editor, as I read other comments on the amount of the amenity fees, it makes me wonder. When you first came to the Villages, what factors helped you decide to live here? Was it the clean and well-kept landscaping? Perhaps the availability of the recreation centers with hundreds of activities, pickleball, golf, walking, biking trails, softball facilities, neighborhood pools, and other amenities. Now to just say the fee is too high is not realistic. If you put a limit on the fee, soon the collected fees will not cover the maintenance and continually upkeep of all of the amenities in the Villages. Then decisions will need to be made to cut services or close some facilities. If that begins to happen, the place you chose to live will no longer exist. It would seem reasonable to allow the amenity fee to adjust with the cost of living. We then can maintain the lifestyle we all chose. That's sent in by Mike Turney from the village of Ashland. I think it's a pretty good idea. I don't want to see this place change. I don't want to be gouged for money, but I want it to stay the same. And I have noticed that, and I've mentioned this before, I'll do it again. I take a lot of criticism on how I see things. And that's not to say that everything that I say is the way you're going to see it. But I do see a lot of people come down to the Villages and they move, they buy, they move in and all this and that. And then right away, they start making criticisms about, hey, they think they should change this, think they should change that. They should quit doing this. They should quit doing that. And I've often had the same thought. Why did you buy here? Just a thought. Officials are offering an explanation as to why so many gate arms are down in the Villages. The first explanation is fairly obvious. There has been a marked increase in the number of gate strikes here in the Florida's friendliest hometown, according to the Community Watch commander, Nehemiah Wolf. Although Wolf did not make the connection in an appearance Monday morning when he spoke to the Project Wise Advisory Committee, it's common knowledge that the reason for the spike in gate strikes can be attributed to the return of the snowbirds and increased traffic. Listen, these roads are all public. Half of these gates, I swear, here's how I'm seeing it. Half of these gates being knocked down are being knocked down by people that don't live here. The reason why they don't stop or anything to report it, they figure they can get by with it because they don't live here. That's why. Another reason for the large number of gates being down is the fact that a new contractor has taken over the operation of the maintenance of the gates. The new contract took effect October the 1st and includes a software database upgrade. As this project progresses, the district will continue to discuss opportunities for improvements with the gate access equipment and functionality. Brown noted that the square-style gate arms will eventually be replaced by the round-style gate arms, which have superior functionality. A villager who had been at the Lighthouse Point Bar and Grill was arrested on a drunk driving charge in a golf cart. Anthony James Faust, 49, of the village of Sunset Point, was driving a blue golf cart at about 10:30 p.m. Saturday when he was spotted in a roundabout on Morris Boulevard between County Road 466 and the Lake Sumter Bridge. Hey, listen. Anytime you read about a golf cart being on a road somewhere in a roundabout, other than a golf cart trail, there's a couple of them, that's a problem. You're not supposed to be on a public road anywhere in the villages and be in a roundabout with cars. Well, unless you're street legal. I suppose street legals can do that. But let me tell you what, from what I've seen around here, if you declare your golf cart street legal because your GPS works better in there, you're taking your life in your own hands. I'm just saying. I wouldn't do that for the life of me. Golf cart trails are not that hard to manage. Golf carts are not permitted in that roundabout or on that roadway. Faust said he was lost and trying to navigate using Google Maps. This is what they always do. It's always a phone, Google. Don't work on golf cart trails. I mean, you can do it if you pay attention, but when you've been drinking, the odds are you're not going to pay attention. Just don't do it. He said he had been at the Lighthouse Point Bar and Grill at Lake Sumter Landing. He also said he was trying to find a girl's house to meet up when he got lost. Deputy detected the odor of alcoholic beverage coming from Faust, who had bloodshot eyes. He claimed he was completely sober. He took part in the field sobriety exercises, but he showed multiple indicators of impairment. A large Polar Pop beverage cup was in the golf cart. The Polar Pop cup had a 12-ounce can of Bud Light tucked inside. The can was 3/4 empty and still cold to the touch. Faust refused to provide breath samples. A criminal history check revealed he had been convicted of driving under the influence in 2012 in Indiana. He was arrested on a charge of driving under the influence. He was booked at Suffolk County Detention Center and released after posting a $1,000 bond. These golf carts have the same rules as cars. There's no difference. If your license are suspended in the car, that also means you cannot drive a golf cart here. 4 executive golf courses remain closed in the villages due to sinkholes and rain left by Hurricane Ian. Director of Executive Golf Maintenance Mitch Leninger on Monday morning offered an update on the status of the courses for the project-wide advisory committee. The sinkholes opened up September 30th at the El Diablo Executive Golf Course after the departure of Hurricane Ian, and they are not far from the multimodal path off El Camino Real in the village of Santiago. Actually, we rented a house a couple of times real close to those 2 golf courses. There's 2 of them, one side by side. El Diablo, and can't think of the name of the other one. But anyway, back in the day, there was a little restaurant there. There was outside seating there. Gorgeous. I loved it. And they changed all that. In addition, 3 courses remain closed due to all of the moisture from the rain and the movement of water related to Hurricane Ian. Courses will remain closed are Sweet Gum, always known for water there, Palmetto and Sandhill. Palmetto and Sweet Gum are like side by side, right next to one another. Sandhill, it's probably the first time I've heard of that kind of. Sandhill's a nice course. I like it there too. The course has received 11.5 inches of rain during the month of September. In addition, the Mira Mesa golf courses remain closed for a long-term renovation project, which is being funded through the Amenity Authority the committee. The village's public safety department is averaging 80 calls for ambulances per day after taking over the emergency transit services as of October 1st in the village's section of Sumter County. These guys are really busy. Village's manager Kenny Blocker said in a report Monday to Project-Wide Advisory Committee. He said of the 80 daily responses, only about half require transport to the medical facilities. He said it's been a seamless transfer, but an apparent improvement for residents. We're no longer having to wait for a third-party ambulance to show up. Residents of the villages have been alarmed by dangerously long wait times under the county's contracted ambulance service, American Medical Response. The village has sent a powerful message that they preferred their own ambulance service be operated by the village's public safety department. Earlier this year, the Village Center Community Development District Board of Supervisors approved a $3.385 million purchase of ambulances and equipment. I don't even know how we got in this mess. The years that I've been coming here and the years that I've lived here, the village's ambulance services has always been top notch as far as I'm concerned. I actually used them a couple of times, and then all of a sudden these third-party people came in. I don't know who approved that or why it was even brought up. Sometimes it's just best to leave things alone. A one-legged man, I'm not laughing at that. I'm laughing at his name, and you guys can't see the picture yet, but I'll show it to you. Good Lord. A one-legged man known by the alias of Ponce de Leon was jailed after a disturbance at the Marriott Town Place Suites at Spanish Springs in the Villages. When officers arrived at 9:40 a.m. Saturday at the hotel, they found 62-year-old Mario Ortega behind the counter at the front desk, according to the arrest report of Lady Lake Police Department. The hotel manager said that guests had complained that Ortega was yelling and shoving papers in their faces as they were having breakfast in the lobby. The hotel manager added that Ortega had been using profanities. Ortega, who had been arrested in 2019 in a road rage incident, refused to leave the hotel. The arrest report noted Ortega is missing one leg and is known by the alias Ponce de Leon, a famed Spanish explorer and first governor of Puerto Rico. Ortega was arrested on charges of trespassing and disorderly conduct. The native of Cuba was booked at the Lake County Jail on $1,500 bond. Good morning, everybody. I'm hard at it this morning. My morning coffee. Working hard getting ready for the W&L show. Villagers were forced to move out of their homes for up to 2 weeks due to repairs of a sinking manhole. Residents of 15 homes on Newport Path in the village of Dunedin will be forced to move out Tuesday. They will be lodged at the waterfront inn at Lake Sumter Landing at the expense of Sumter County. Some are opting to move in with friends. The sinking manhole problem can be tracked back to October 5 when it caved in about 2.5 feet. Residents of the street told villagesnews.com a villager and his golf cart originally discovered the problem. A geological analysis was ordered to determine the extent of the damage. They're on top of it. A plea deal could be in the works for a villager whose Mercedes struck down husband and wife bicyclists in 2020. A continuance has been granted for 90-year-old Marilyn Hamilton of the village of Gilchrist, who had been facing a trial previously scheduled for this week in Sumter County Court. Hamilton is now scheduled to enter a plea on December 20th before Judge Mary Hatcher. A pre-plea, pre-sentencing investigation has been ordered in the case, thus it appears a plea deal could be in the works. The former Michigan resident has no previous criminal record, and it is highly unlikely she would be sentenced to time behind bars at her age. She will turn 91 this month. Hamilton has pleaded not guilty to felony counts of hit and run. She is charged with hitting Village of Dunedin resident Jessica Laub and Robert Hunter, who had been riding on Morris Boulevard on October 30th, 2020. They were both struck by a white Mercedes driven by Hamilton. She allegedly stopped, looked at the crumpled bicycles on the ground, got back in her car, and fled the scene. She had her damaged 2014 Mercedes towed to a dealership in Gainesville, leading to her arrest on November 5, 2020 at her home on Twisted Oak Way. A driver was ticketed after a two-vehicle crash at the entrance of the village of Glenbrook. A motorist was northbound on Buena Vista Boulevard at 5:30 p.m. Tuesday when he attempted to make a left turn onto Tally Ridge Drive, according to the Sumter County Sheriff's Office. He turned into the path of the southbound vehicle that was headed straight on Buena Vista. There were no injuries. The motorist who made the left turn was ticketed on a charge of failure to yield. I'm going to guess that was in a roundabout. A Summerfield woman was arrested at a local Wawa after illicit drugs were found concealed in her cup of ice. Benny Jean Nadeau, 45, was driving a dark-colored pickup with a non-functioning headlight when she left the parking lot of the Tiki Hut in Oxford shortly before 11 p.m. Monday, according to a arrest report of Wildwood Police Department. An officer initiated a traffic stop at the Wawa at County Road 466 and 301. A check with dispatch revealed Nadeau's driver's license had been suspended due to delinquent child support payments. She also has prior convictions for driving while license suspended in 2015 and 2019. A K-9 unit was summoned to the scene and the dog alerted on the pickup truck, indicating the likelihood of presence of drugs. Officer found a Wawa cup full of fresh ice in the vehicle. 2 small bags were found in the cup, one containing methamphetamine, and the other held alprazolam bar-like pills. A plastic grinder with a residue of fentanyl was also found in the cup. Nadeau claimed someone had put the cup in the vehicle without her knowledge. Nadeau was arrested on charges of possession of a controlled substance, possession of methamphetamine, possession of drug equipment, and driving while license suspended. She was booked at Sumter County Detention Center on a $6,000 bond. A jury has found a man guilty for raping a woman he met at Lake Sumter Landing. The Sumter County jury on Tuesday found 33-year-old Michael Torres of Ocala guilty of a charge of sexual battery. He was admittedly booked without bond at the Sumter County Detention Center, where he is being held without bond while he awaits sentencing. Torrey met the then 21-year-old woman near a place where she was working at Lake Sumter Landing. They communicated via a dating application and then met for a meal in Marion County. They went to her home in Sumter County where they had casual sex, but then he flipped her over and forced her into anal sex, according to the arrest reports. A forensic medical examiner woman showed she had suffered a violent physical attack. I only read that because neither one of them lived in a village or whatever, but this is just to let you know. I've said it 100 times. I keep repeating myself because I want you to understand. When you go to the squares, all streets in the villages are open to the public. They're public roads. The squares are open to the public. Anybody can be at a square. I don't care who they are, don't care where they come from. They can be at a square. No IDs necessary. They can park their car anywhere and just walk into the square. So when you go to the square, I'm not saying don't speak to people. And I'm not saying don't be friendly. I'm just saying know that person sitting next to you, don't assume that they're a resident here in the villages and you feel protected. Always have your guard up. The Amenity Authority Committee has received a report of an apparently abandoned golf cart at a recreation center. This is not the first time this has happened. Judy Bobshirmi. I will post a name. Of the village of Palo on Wednesday morning reported that the golf cart has been in the same spot for several weeks at the El Santiago Recreation Center. There is an anti-theft device on the steering wheel of the golf cart. AC Chairman Don Deacon said the issue will be handled. It's often easier said than done when vehicles are left in public parking areas not designated as throwaway zones in the villages. That is such crap. Let's see. VillagesNews.com reported earlier this year on a maroon Cadillac SUV backed into a parking spot on the far side of the Savannah Center. It was there for several months. This is not the first time a vehicle has been abandoned at the Savannah Center. In 2017, an abandoned vehicle with expired Arizona plates raised the ire of an elected official. It was there for nearly a year. So the idea of saying, well, we can't just have everybody come in here and just tow this thing away because this is a public parking lot. Remember me saying these are public roads? Now you're saying this is a public parking lot? I got to tell you, for being a retirement community, it sure seems to be an awful lot of stuff that we have rules. Seems to be an awful lot of rules that they can't enforce. A lot of rules that people like Rohan won't enforce. And it's a retirement community. It's almost laughable. The news gets me fired up. I should put booze in this. The Village Public Safety Department handled 189 calls in the first 72 hours after taking over the emergency transport service October 1 in the village's section of Sumter County. Of those first 189 calls, 73 resulted in patient transport to UF Health in the village's hospital. 11 resulted in patient transport to UF Health, the village's Brownwood freestanding ER. 36 resulted in patients transported to UF Health Leesburg Hospital. 5 resulted in patient transport to Ocala Health Trailwinds freestanding ER. 4 resulted in patient transport to Ocala Regional Medical Center. 1 resulted in patient transport to Ocala Health Summerfield freestanding ER. 59 resulted in no patient transport. I wonder what the report doesn't show is I wonder how many of those were village residents. A longtime villager has been ordered to cut down hedges used to block out noise and light from a loud and rambunctious soccer field. In 1999, Mary Santos and her late husband bought the lot at 160 Palermo Place in the villages of Valle Verde. Oh, that's an old neighborhood. They helped design their premier home. By the way, they don't sell premier homes anymore. They quit doing that. The villages, their sales representative, and the town of Lady Lake all assured the couple nothing was to be built on the land on the back of their property. People coming down here to buy homes, don't ever fall for that line. However, it wasn't long before the Rolling Acre Sports Complex was built, quite literally in their backyard. The sports complex is home to many soccer games as well as practice sessions. The couple decided to let their hedges grow to provide a buffer from the light and noise from the soccer games. I can understand that. Mary Santos, whose husband died 10 years ago, appeared Wednesday afternoon in a public hearing before the village's Center Community Development District Board of Supervisors. After more than 20 years of having a tall hedge in place without any complaints, an anonymous complainer this past August reported the hedges to community standards. The rule states that the hedges can be no more than 4 feet tall. Remember the golf cart ride I made once, and I pointed that out several times about the hedges? I said 4 feet for them. I don't know how bamboo gets by with this, but for some reason bamboo can be a lot taller. But yeah, 4 feet. That's the rule. Unless you have some kind of an exemption, it's 4 feet. And people in their backyards, I've seen them. I've got neighbors here. I'm not saying anything because I don't really care, but they got hedges, I swear to you, 10, 12 feet tall, never been trimmed, and they look like crap. Santos said that 2 decades ago, she received encouragement from none other than the village's vice president, Jennifer Parr, to let the hedges grow. At that time, she had children who played soccer. Because the Santos home is at the far end of the villages, it was assumed no one would care or notice the tall hedges. Okay. In addition to acting as a buffer between the homes and the soccer field, Santos said the tall hedges have blocked the view of a constant stream of villagers walking their dogs behind her home. The dogs usually relieving themselves there, she said, which that's a violation there too. You can't take the Amenity Authority Committee wants to implement a 1-year freeze on amenity rates paid by residents north of County Road 466. Members of the AAC have indicated they are sensitive to the needs of residents living on a fixed income at the time of rapid inflation. Budget Director Brandy Cook on Wednesday morning presented the AAC with a range of heavily researched options of potential deferral rates. You can see the entire presentation at this link. The AAC members quickly zeroed in on one of Cook's possibilities, a 1-year deferral rate that would essentially freeze rates paid by residents for 12 months. Let me read you an interesting story. There's several of them this week that I haven't read. I can tell by the viewership you guys are getting tired of reading about drunk drivers and stuff like that. It gets old after a while. I know that. So I'm trying to change it up a little bit. I just don't know what really, I'm trying to get an overall thing. But here's a story that I want people to know once again. If you buy a home here in the villages, you don't know who your neighbor is. But this guy here could be a neighbor. Fearful villagers are begging officials for protection from a scary neighbor. Residents of the Ashley Villas in the village of Calumet Grove spoke out Friday afternoon before the Community Development District Board 4 Board of Supervisors meeting at Savannah Center. We need help. Someone is going to get hurt, said resident Carl Shank. He said he and his neighbors are being terrorized by 53-year-old Brian Keith Kessinger, who lives at 7571 Southeast 171st Sun Valley Place. Kessinger was arrested at his home after setting fire September 27th to a box containing some kind of trash. Deputies who arrived on the scene were able to put out the fire with the neighbor's garden hose. They detained Kessinger, who had a lighter. Deputies stalked out the area after a woman who lives in the villa community said Kessinger had been ringing her doorbell and her neighbor's doorbells and then running away. Deputies caught Kessinger ringing her doorbell and issued a legal trespass order, barring him from the woman's home. At about 10 p.m., the deputies heard Kessinger yelling profanities and breaking glass objects in the street in front of his home. They found he had started a small fire in the middle of the street in front of his house. Kessinger was arrested on a charge of disturbing the peace and booked at the Marion County Jail. He was released after posting a $2,500 bond. At the CDD4 meeting, neighbors alleged that Kessinger is a hand grenade ready to go off. They said the arrest is the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Kessinger's scary behavior. Residents said they have resorted to arming themselves with knives and guns. They claimed he has spray painted the Villa Road, which is owned and maintained by the CDD4 residents. Yeah, let me correct that. That jogged my memory. I made a statement on porch setting that all Villa Roads are private and maintained by the developer. That's not true. I don't know why I said a developer. In my mind, sometimes I get one thing in there and it won't go away. It's maintained by the district residents, whoever that is, in the maintenance fees. While supervisors said they have limited power with such a problem, Supervisor Mark Hayes volunteered to meet with residents to discuss the situation. Hayes has a law enforcement background and serves as a liaison between CDD4 and Marion County Sheriff's Office. 10 days prior to the arrest in the Aaliyah Villas, Kessinger was driving an SUV caught on surveillance, beeping his horn before backing into a 4x4 post, and then a chain link fence at the Eagles Club on County Road 27 in Bellevue. The individual who reported the incident said the man in the vehicle later identified that Kessinger was acting bizarre. Kessinger was arrested on a charge of criminal mischief. He spent 5 days in jail before being bailed out on a $1,000 bond. A mold problem has been reported at a home on a historic site of the Villages. The home at 1637 West Swartz Boulevard was the subject of a public hearing Wednesday afternoon in front of the Village Center Community Development District Board of Supervisors at Savannah Center. The home is owned by William Hesley Jr., Life Estate, and Erica H. Miller. The complaint was received October the 4th about mold on the home and black tape on the gutter, according to the evidence presented by Community Standards at the hearing. Community Standards also indicated the home has been responsive and has been trying to line up a contractor for the work. However, as of Monday, the work has not been completed. They can't collect them either. So far. They're trying to figure out how to do that, but in most cases, they find houses for a lot of things. As far as I know, they don't collect them. They just forgive them. Trouble. Fines are looming at a long, troubled property notorious for crimes in the Villages. The home located at 923 St. Andrews Boulevard on the historic site of the Villages was the subject of a public hearing Wednesday afternoon before the Village Center Community District Board of Supervisors at Savannah Center. The board agreed to provide for 7 days for the grass to be cut and the weeds to be removed. If it is not handled within the 7-day limit, the district will maintain the property at a cost of $250 each time it is maintained. The owner, Hazel Kubeta, is deceased. The utilities at the property have been shut off for several months. Evidence was presented showing that Paul Kubeta, Hazel's Kubeta son, has been operating an unlicensed golf cart repair shop at the home. Photographs presented as evidence showed golf cart paths strewn throughout the carport. In addition, the property is a known drug house. The property has been a problem for years. In 2019, the VCCDD Board of Supervisors agreed to forgive $500 fines at the home. In 2015, Kubeta was living in his mother's home when he was arrested after pawning jewelry that belonged to a hospitalized villager. He's a thief and a druggie. He landed back behind bars when he later violated his probation in this case. This is letter to the editor. We can cap amenity fees, but we can't cap rising costs. We can cap amenity fees for current homeowners and shift the burden to new residents. We can cut programs, maintenance, etc. to keep amenity fees from rising. We can all participate in modest increases and continue the beautiful, clean, and well-maintained facilities in the Villages. That's sent in by Joe Romeo from the Village of Sanibel. The repair of sinkholes will cost $100,000 at a golf course in the Villages. The repairs at the El Diablo Executive Golf Course are being funded by the Amenity Authority Committee, which oversees amenities north of County Road. AAC member Ann Forrester on Friday morning updated the Community Development District 2 Board of Supervisors on the estimated cost of the repairs at the golf course, which is located in the CDD2. The sinkholes opened up September 30th after the departure of Hurricane Ian. The sinkholes are not far from the multimodal path off El Camino Real in the village of Santiago. Forrester pointed out that the villages received 11 inches of rain during September. Sinkhole repair comes at a time when AAC financing is under scrutiny due to the desire to freeze the amenity rates for residents for 1 year due to economic pressures. A $20 million placeholder has been put in the budget for the demolition and replacement of the Paradise Recreation Center. So I guess they decided they're going to tear that old place down and build a new one. Good for them, people. I know it's going to be inconvenient for a while, but when you get the new one done and open, you'll love it. A daughter has been granted extra time for the cleanup of her late father's home in the Villages. The home at 1808 Durango Drive in the village of Della Vista North was the subject of a public hearing Friday morning in front of Community Development District 1 Board of Supervisors at Savannah Center. Carl and Irene Felon purchased the home in 2000 for $181,400. He died in 2017. Irene Felon is now living out of state with family according to testimony provided by the hearing by community standard. A complaint was lodged October 1st about overgrown grass, weeds, and mold on her home. When you look at the last picture on October 12th, she already has the front cleaned up. You can't always get the pressure washer guy to show up tomorrow. Just because I need you, said Supervisor Judy Bubischermeyer. I'm sorry. The board agreed to grant 14 more days. Well, when it comes to the high pressure thing, you can't get them tomorrow. That's a fallacy. Yes, you can. I could call no pressure wash, which is the best house wash as far as I'm concerned. That high pressure stuff is crap. And I could call them tonight, and I can make an appointment probably for next week, and they'll be right out here. Matter of fact, I might even be able to get them here earlier than that. If you have enough employees and enough equipment, you can get the job done. A resident of the Villages was jailed on a hate crime. Zachary Joseph Leas, 36, who lives at 615 Webb Way in the village of Silver Lake, was arrested shortly before 1 p.m. Thursday after he initially drove a shopping cart into the abdomen of another man while both were in the crosswalk at Winn-Dixie Supermarket at Bachara Boulevard, according to the arrest report. Leas was yelling racial slurs in reference to the victim being African American. The victim left the scene after the incident, but was found by police on Rolling Acres Road. He completed a sworn statement detailing the attack. Independent witnesses verified his version of the event. Lees was charged with a hate crime. Booking photos taken at the Lake County Jail show that Lees has a coexist tattoo that includes a peace symbol, the Star of David, a cross, and an Islamic crescent moon. The artist who created the original symbol said it was designated to represent tolerance between religions. The Pennsylvania native was released after posting a $5,000 bond. Where officers located a black Toyota Camry. An officer approached the vehicle and detected the odor of marijuana. He found 35-year-old Rohan Kalika of Orlando near the vehicle's driver's door, who admitted he had smoked a joint in the vehicle earlier. A search of the vehicle turned up a marijuana cigarette near the gear shift. A plastic bag containing 3.5 grams of marijuana and rolling paper were also found in the vehicle. The Guyana native was transported to the Summerfield ER to be medically evaluated as a result of the accident. He was arrested on charges of possession of marijuana and possession of drug paraphernalia. He was released after posting a $2,000 bond. Guyana. That should be a name that pops up in everybody's mind. Jim Jones, Guyana. Remember that? Well, that being said, I'm going to get out of here with the news this week. You guys have my email. It's in the description box below, but I'll put it up here because I know most of you are watching this probably on a TV set. See this right here? There's the email. Send me an email. Or what you'd like for me to give my opinion on, or how I see things, or the difference I see things now than the way it was 25 years ago here. And yes, I've been coming through here for over 25 years. I am the longest running YouTube channel anywhere in the Villages. You can't stand the truth. Let me know. Let me know. And
don't leave your keys in the golf cart.